Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the One Hub Racing YouTube channel. It is the turn of the Precision tier to take centre stage here for round 7 of Season 17 around the Silverstone circuit here for the British Grand Prix. My name is Jake, and I'm joined by my new permanent co-commentator for the rest of the season. That is Liam. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm just off the back of the Prospect tier race, so I've taken the short wander up the stairs to the commentary box.
A busy Friday evening as always for you. Of course, I wasn't actually here for the last race last week at Baku. In terms of just a quick recap on the results from the last race, it was Knowlesy that took the win ahead of Bryn, who's in second. PB Racing was his former PSN name, but he's gone back to Bryn for that one. Tom Robbo took third, with Chris in fourth. Jay Fletcher, our championship leader, was only in fifth. And in terms of the driver of the day, that went to Bryn, and pole position actually went to Jay Fletcher, but he could only manage fifth in the end. And also one thing to point out from Baku, which I think is definitely worth noting for the Precision tier, is that no incidents were reported. Completely clean bill from the stewards last week. So fair play to the Precision tier drivers for that, and they've got a very nice reward in the shape of a very wet qualifying session.
Unfortunately for them, their good behaviour has been rewarded with chucking down with rain. Typical British weather, you must say.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I was looking at sort of a guide for what sort of lap times we'd be expecting in qualifying based on last season, and both the podium and Precision tiers last season had wet qualifying sessions, so maybe it was a stronger guide than I realised at the time, because we've got a wet qualifying session here and we're going to have drivers out on full wet tyres. It's very going to be tricky for them here, and yeah, very typical British weather for the qualifying session. A little bit of background to the Silverstone track. It's what I'd say many drivers consider this to be a spiritual home of Formula 1. It's a home track for many of our teams and drivers. The fifth fast flowing track will pose a serious test to the Precision tier tonight, with 18 turns making up this 3.6 mile circuit, and a lap record for Max Verstappen actually set in 2020, lap time to 127.0. We've got 26 laps in front of our drivers tonight as they navigate the many famous corners of this circuit, the likes of Copse, Stowe and the infamous Maggots and Beckett's complex. Do you think there'll be any additional pressure for those who are racing at their home track?
Not really. I think it's more of a boost really to be at your home track than a hindrance. It just gives you that little bit of encouragement knowing that, okay, this is my home track, I've got my home fans behind me, so let's go out and put on a show for them.
And it certainly will be a test of driver skill here around a very wet Silverstone track, and we've got Jonas, who's the furthest along on his outlap, so he'll be starting it very soon. A quick shout out to as well to Schnicksel's mother, who will be watching the stream today. Sadly, the Schnicksel family had some awful news recently, and I can say at One Hub all our thoughts are with them, and we wish them all the best, and hopefully Schnicksel can put on a good performance today for that one. So hopefully it'll be a good one for him tonight. And we've got Jonas about to start his first flying lap. I don't know if you want to guide us around this lap.
I'll let you guide us around this round.
Thank you very much.
The honours.
So through turn one, usually flat out in these cars, but absolutely not flat in these ones. And now through this difficult complex of Village and Abbey, braking runs a little bit wide, struggling for grip on the exit, and now just trying to get the power down as early as possible, heading out onto the hangar straight. Again, a little left-hand kink here, but you don't usually notice in the dry, but definitely notice when it's pouring it down. Towards the end of the first sector now, and coming up to what used to be the end of the lap before it was remodelled about 10 years ago now. And now Lovefield, the old final turn, leading on to the National Straight here that takes us across the old start-finish line, and then up to the ever-infamous Copse corner. Easy to get this wrong, especially in these conditions. Turns it in the back end, desperately trying to snatch away from this Red Bull, and now through Maggots and Beckett's. Such an infamous part of this track, a very popular corner, but easy to get it wrong if you don't have a rhythm right, but that looks very nice indeed. Now onto the back straight, and heading now down towards Stowe. First two sectors dealt with pretty well so far for a banker lap from Jonas. and now brakes around 100 metres before the corner as it goes into Stowe. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, so I think it might have been a Mercedes that had an issue earlier on the lap, but now through these tricky final couple of corners, very frustrating. You just want to get on the power earlier than it probably wants to let you, and Jonas sets the opening benchmark of a 140.8, and for a first lap in those conditions that wasn't too bad at all. We've got Nick out on a lap as well. He's just going through the second sector. Got Dan just in front of him. I think it might have been Nick that had the error though, because I don't think that's a competitive time that he's on. So obviously struggling in these early parts of qualifying, which is definitely understandable. I doubt these are the conditions that these drivers would have practiced for.
Yeah, while you were on board with Jonas, I had a quick look at what the yellow flags were for, and it was Nick had gone a little bit too far off through the middle sector.
And Jay Fletcher very much consolidating that he is probably the fastest driver in this tier, as he does a very good 137.8, which is was over a second faster than the next best, but Chris has just changed that as he's got up into second. And what can Tom Robbo do? Infamously, qualifying has been his weakness, but that's not a bad first effort as he moves into third and splits the Ferraris as Verheyen quickly takes that third place away from him.
Yeah, you have a bit of, well, I was going to say Tom Robbo was in a Red Bull sandwich, well, in a Ferrari sandwich, but Verheyen has joined in there, so they're both sandwiched in between the two Ferraris, so keep an eye out. Most people are on their flying laps, as I would... Yeah...
Bryn and Knowlesy have invalidated their laps, so not surprised a few invalidations we're already seeing here.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, especially in the middle sector, through Cops and Maggots and Beckett's, especially in the wet, to struggle understeer and invalidate your lap time.
In terms of some sort of previous round this track, as Jay Fletcher underlines his speed by going half a second quicker, so Minton pulls his advantage a bit further clear. I wonder if we're going to see a few drivers going for 2 flying laps here, as Dan Murphy heads to the line now for his opening effort, and it's good enough for 6th. He splits the 2 racing points, and Nick quickly jumps above him. I think we're going to see times really dropping down here. Chris is about to cross the line as well and goes up into second, still half a second adrift of Jay Fletcher. Riley Byes actually won last season here, but that was in the podium tier, which of course is a tier lower. Verheyen was racing in the precision tier last season here and took 3rd place, so that 4th place lap time is putting clearly no fluke. He's got good previous here at this track.
Yeah, just showing off that he's definitely not a one-off, and he's got serious pace to contender in here. We've still got a few people coming round on their flying laps, as the racing point of Kieran, I believe, has spun off through Stoke, coming out of Stowe, so that's his lap over.
And what's going to be interesting as well, depending on what the race weather is, of course, you might see some drivers, maybe they won't be, if it's going to be dry for the race, they won't exactly have wet setups on now, so that's going to make things even trickier.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see if the drivers have really informed us of the weather, so we're still in the blind at the moment, unless you want to quickly check.
I'll have a look to see what's on the mentions in the YouTube chat. We've got Scorpion around the final corner. He's about to improve in the other Ferrari, and the Ferrari's looking strong here as Scorpion goes up into second.
Yep, just having a quick check of the YouTube chat, and Schnitzel saying the race will be dry, so I think you might be correct. A lot of these drivers will be running dry setups, as Dan Murphy just invalidated his lap going through the final corner by cutting it just a little bit too much.
And wow, Jay Fletcher, as Tom Robbo moves up to 4th, Jay Fletcher's absolutely loving life in these conditions. He's now first driver into the 136s, and wow, he looks pretty unstoppable so far in qualifying, it has to be said.
Yeah, definitely seems to be on the pace just now, but he could be one of the only drivers running a full wet setup though, so that could come into account in the race where it's completely dry. So we'll have to wait and find out how he does in the race, because he's absolutely flying so far.
Speaking from a driver's point of view, obviously if you've got these conditions in qualifying, but it is going to be dry for the race, would you put any thought into setting up your car for qualifying, or would you just focus on it a fully dry setup?
Personally, I would definitely go for the dry setup, because you're really wanting to set yourself up for the race instead of just banking on everything in quali. So I'd say going for the dry setup would be a better option for most people.
Someone commented saying they want to see Rimpe. Well, at the moment he's doing pretty well up in 9th. I'm currently watching F1 Farf, who's one of 3 drivers yet to put a lap time on the board in the Haas. Just watching him through his final few corners, see what he can do for an opening lap. It's a pretty decent field spread at the moment. Scorpion's improved again to a 37.5. Still can't get within half a second of Jay Fletcher, but what's Farf going to do for his opening effort? It looks pretty solid as he goes up to 7th. So not too bad at all.
Is coming round to complete his first flying lap now, so he's coming through Stowe. A little wide, not quite getting the apex and touching the inside curb. Well, he's coming through the last chicane now, round through the double right-hander. He's crossed the line. What time will he set? It's going to be a 1 minute 40.2, and it's only good enough for 18th. The Dutchman in the Williams appears to be struggling at the moment in these conditions.
Yeah, he's sort of there on board. He wasn't really troubling any of the apexes, so maybe just struggling to get speed in these conditions, but we'll see how he does in the race. If he's hopefully set up fares him a bit better there. Schnitzel is on a better lap, currently in 12th place. He comes round the final few corners now. It's super difficult to keep up to date with what drivers are doing on track because of the conditions. We're seeing multiple lap runs here, whereas obviously in a normal dry qualifying session they usually only do 1 flying lap, maybe 2 at the most.
He's sliding a bit to the final corner, but it's good enough for 8th. Yeah, as you're saying there, it's a bit more chaotic in the wet, as drivers prefer to stay out a little bit longer on their runs just to get the grip down and get a bearing on the track to really push it over a couple of laps here, because the tyres don't heat up or overheat or wear out as much as the dry tyres would, well, especially the softs.
Yeah, and we've got Bryn now, who's looking to set his first lap time of qualifying, but that's, well, I'm a bit surprised that wasn't invalidated there through Cops. He went quite wide, but he got away with it. Rimpe's up to 6th in the AlphaTauri. Bryn's a driver who's been very impressive in recent races, it has to be said. Made the switch this season to using a wheel and no assists, and it seems to be paying off for him. He's increasing with speed, it seems, race by race. But these are the sort of conditions where if you're still not 100% comfortable with your new setup, it will show. But it looks like he's going to set his first effort here, so we'll see what it does for him. As Riley definitely improves on his second flying lap. Look at that, from up in way down the order, he's gone to 3rd as Bryn goes into only 18th. And would be expecting a little bit more, but maybe this is a lap where he really goes for it. But yeah, nice, great improvement from Riley by there.
Yeah, seems to be an amazing lap from the Dutchman to jump up from 18th down from 18th to 3rd basically. And going back to what you were saying about Bryn, I remember commentating on Brazil with you, and he seemed very comfortable in the wet conditions, being able to pull out a massive gap in the intermediates, but we'll see how he fares on in the full wets.
He's been ruining his luck of late, believes he's had chances to win the last 2 races, he was saying in a driver's press conference earlier this week. But just for one reason or another, it hasn't happened yet for him. But if he can keep that up, keep putting himself in winning positions, you feel like it's only a matter of time before he gets over the line in one of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you keep putting yourself in that position, eventually you are going to get the result. It's just about being consistent enough to get the result in the first place. It was one of the pre-race interview questions for all the drivers. What is more important, consistency or speed? So it all comes down to that, really. Oh, this is invalidated going. Brown's invalidated going through stall.
Oh, so that's, and he goes into the pits then, and Schnitzel has put the intermediates on in the pits. I wonder if it's drying up slightly, or if Schnitzel's just thinking of taking a little bit of a risk here.
Well, we'll wait and find out. I will have another quick look at the YouTube chat to see if anybody's letting us know on the weather developments.
Of course, it was Schnitzel who mentioned in the YouTube chat about the weather for the race. He may potentially give us an update on the weather during qualifying. We'll see if he does come out on those intermediate tyres. Right now he's still in the pits as Chris runs through the final few corners. He's on a personal best lap. Is he going to improve from his current 4th place standing? Wrestling with the car through the final couple of corners, and it puts him up to 3rd, just 2 thousandths slower than his teammate. This is equal performance, but you'd struggle to know looking at the gap between those 2 Ferraris.
Yep, definitely. I think they're probably in communication, but still setting the exact same lap time. I'm getting, well, this is reminding me a bit of the 1996 finale, where Schumacher, Hill, and I believe it was Villeneuve all set the same flying lap time.
Jay Fletcher's on a personal best for the 1st sector, and Schnitzel is out on intermediate tyres, so he's taking a gamble here, looking at his current 13th place grid slot, and maybe trying to go for glory here and snatch pole position away, because I've got to be honest, if it's just comes down to the pace on the same tyre, I'm struggling to see how anybody can beat Jay Fletcher right now.
Yeah, well, maybe Jay Fletcher's banking on that confidently, although he is out again and he is on a flying lap at the moment, so going through Maggots and Beckett's, we'll see if he improves or not on this time, so keep an eye on him as he's going down the Wellington Straight, 2.5 tenths up already on his personal best, so he's coming down into Stowe now, getting that outside curb and turning in, hits the apex nicely, nice and wide on exit, but not too wide, through the final chicane, and gets the power down just enough, round, here we go, round through the final corner now, and he's going to improve by just over half a tenth. He just edged that gap a little bit more to Chris in that Ferrari, who's also improved to a 37.3.
Tom Roberts invalidated. I was thinking he might be on a lap himself. Got Nick in the Mercedes out there at the moment too, currently down in 9th. And everyone, all 20 drivers are out there, so traffic could be a little bit of an issue. I'm already seeing on board with most drivers, you can see a car just in front of them. Nick's got Riley just in front of him, who's the last driver out, and he should make the line pretty comfortably. So I imagine he'll get nicely out of Nick's way, and he does indeed.
Yeah, just having a look at the track map, if you look at Sector 2, you've got a small you've got a train of drivers forming as they're all on the way down to Cox.
That's going to be just important space out. Most drivers are on laps now though, so obviously if you invalidate, you're probably better off getting out of people's way, but other than that, everyone will be pushing. Nick sliding the car for the last couple of corners, and as a result, only marginally improves. I'm going to keep an eye on the top.
Mosley going up to 5th in the McLaren.
Just in front of his teammate as well, so 5 margins between some of our teammates. I think one of Ferraris has invalidated his lap, and that'll be his last effort. So Jay Fletcher. So Jay Fletcher is coming around the final few corners now. This will be his last effort in qualifying. What can he do? We're currently on a 1:36.8. Verheyden goes across the line in 7th. Jay Fletcher marginally improves, but is that time there to be got at by anybody?
It doesn't look like it from here, but he's only been improving by about half a tenth each lap, just simply because he's been unable to keep the car planted through that last corner. So that appears to be a problem for him. Who will be the next person to cross the line at the moment? It's looking like the other Williams, I think, of Casper, who's 14th now, and behind him we have Hindle in the Alfa Romeo, whose teammate is pulled into the pits, I think. He moves up to 5th in the Alfa Romeo.
Bryn goes to pole on a 36.4. Where's that lap time come from?
Well, you were saying earlier about Bryn's prowess in the wet conditions.
What have I just witnessed on board with Kieran? He's gone pretty much fully sideways across the line into the wall, but still moves up to 4th.
That is some mighty impressive drifting there as Schnitzel's retired in the pit.
Riley's into the wall across the line as well. That last corner is treacherous in these conditions. And Rimpe moves up to 5th at the last as well. It's a good effort from Rimpe there. We got Ryo Mahoshi now. He's invalidated his lap. So that, I believe, is pretty much that for qualifying. And it's Bryn who snatches pole away from Jay Fletcher. And I did not see that coming.
I don't think either of us that so coming. Even though we said before about him being good in the wet conditions, we weren't expecting him to be that good. To put it almost 4 tenths clear of the championship leader.
Fair play to him, pulling it out of the bag at the last end. So Bryn is on pole, Jay Fletcher is in 2nd, we've got Chris in 3rd, Kieran 4th, Rimpe in 5th, Scorpion in the end drops to 6th in the other Ferrari, got Riley Byes in 7th, Hindle in 8th, the 2 McLarens of Knowlesy and Dan completing the top 10, Verheyen just outside the top 10 11th, Tom Robbo again not having the qualifying session he would have hoped for in 12th, Jonas 13th, got F1 Farp in 14th, Nick in 15th, Casper 16th, and then going down to last place is Schnitzel, whose intermediate gamble ultimately didn't pay off in the end. So that is your grid. Just before we get into the race, I'll just now mention we will have a silence until the end of the formation lap once the qualifying results disappear, in memory of Sir Tom Moore, who passed away earlier this week. His selfless efforts in raising money for the NHS were an absolute inspiration, and he will be sadly missed. So join myself and Liam and all of us at One Hub now as we honour his memory. Hello, welcome back, and yeah, massive thank you for that. And also, just want to mention many of our drivers wearing black helmets tonight in a tribute to Sir Tom Moore. So, massive thank you to them as well. We are all set and ready to go here. 26 laps of Silverstone awaiters. We've got Bryn and Jay Fletcher on the front row, and when the lights stop illuminating, it's time to do battle here at Silverstone. Looks like a pretty equal start between the top two. Further behind, Rimpe looks like he got an excellent start from the third row of the grid and is already up to third. It's Bryn that leads us away. Jay Fletcher into second, and Chris going for a move down the inside of Rimpe through Abbey and Village. Here they go now. A few cars running wide. Looks like we've had some incidents further down the field, but it's Rimpe who holds on to third, and the top two have had pretty good starts away from the grid, and Chris still looking like he wants to get past Rimpe. But all in all, I'd have to say it is the AlphaTauri of Rimpe that's had a really good start there.
Yep, both AlphaTauris off the line quickly there, doing a lot of, and Rimpe able to make up a few positions off the start. Bryn holding position just now. It looks very nice for the AlphaTauri team at the moment.
Oh, and what an exit that was from Chris out of Cops. And he's pressurising Rimpe to Magus Beckett, but he can't get alongside. It looks like Dan Murphy has had some issues further down the field, and he's dropped to the back after starting in the top 10. The other McLaren's also dropped down a few places as well, so not a good start for them. Interesting tyre choices throughout the field. Of course, they had a free choice due to the wet qualifying, but it's F1 Farf and Tom Robbo who are currently battling to be the fastest or the best placed of the medium tyre runners. Oh, and they're going side by side, nearly touching there, but it's Tom Robbo who gets the place. And up into 8th, and what do you make of those that have gone for medium tyres, as Jonas has gone round further down the field and he's recovered after a spin. That's a disaster for him. And
the strategy around here will be soft, medium, soft, so I imagine they're just wanting to get the slower compound out of the way as quick as possible. But as DRS is now enabled, as Kieran is closing up to the back of Chris just now, maybe.
Getting damage around here on lap 1's not the worst thing with a mandatory 2-stop, because the tyre wear's not a big issue really for the drivers around here. Also, the hardest compounds have been brought to this one. So for Dan Murphy now, although he probably has to repair some damage, it's not the worst thing to collect damage around here on lap 1. There are definitely worse tracks to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Considering the tyre wear isn't really that bad, you can get away with probably stretching a set of mediums most of the race, and then bolting on softs at the end. As I'm not sure if you're the only one who's been glitched out, and it says Dan Murphy is now leading the race.
Yeah, the usual timing glitches unfortunately at the start of races, but it is still Bryn. There we go. So Bryn leads Jay Fletcher, and Scorpion finds himself up to, actually no, yeah, does find himself to 5th. Kieran was in 4th, I believe, so he's...
You run wide in the middle sector onto the grass and lost it all places to both Vahanen and Scorpion. As Vahanen looks to be sizing up a move on the Ferrari in front of him.
Looking pretty quick here. Vahanen, obviously we mentioned he's had a podium here in the positions here last season at this track, so he's got good history, and he's looking fairly solid in these opening stages of a race on those soft tyres. And what's going to be interesting here is what sort of pace Tom Robbo can keep up behind these soft tyre runners in 8th place, and what will help him out is that Farf and Nick are battling furiously behind him.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to get a bit of a gap to those two, as both Jay Fletcher and Bryn have got themselves a bit of a gap to Rimpe behind, who has Chris all over his gearbox now, so he's surely got planning on making a move at the end of the Wellington Straight into Stowe. So here we go, Ferrari lining it up, not quite using the overtake mode. He's not going to go for the move, interestingly. He's going to sit behind the AlphaTauri for probably another lap now, unless he gets a really good run onto the straight coming out of the Abbey and Village. So keep an eye out. That could be a possible place for an overtake, but we'll have to wait and see. Is he close enough for a dive? Does not go for it. Rimpe is still locking up. Chris trying to find a line where he can carry more speed than that AlphaTauri. He's about 2 tenths behind through the left-hander, over to more engaged, but will the straight be long enough? Yes it will. He's going to send it up the inside into the left-hander. Rimpe unable to hold on the outside and has to give up third position to Chris in the Ferrari.
There's no doubt about it. That was an important move for Chris. If he's got serious designs on the top two in this race, it was a move he needed to make, because there was no question about it. The top two were quicker than Rimpe at this stage of the race, as Dan Murphy shows off those new tyres with a 1:27.5 for a fastest lap as he tries to make a charge back through the field later on. Obviously got one of his two stops out of the way in that respect, but yeah, the top two absolutely flying at the moment, and it's important for Chris now to see what sort of pace he's got, see if he can try and live with the top two. But if anything, he may come to fray from Rimpe, who thought about a move into Stowe but ultimately wasn't quite close enough. Just reminding Chris that he's there for now, but yeah, Rimpe not giving up on that third place just yet.
Yeah, he's got it in his sight, and F1 Farf and it looks like Casper are the first two drivers to pick up penalties this evening. Well, that might ruin their races at the end, but keep an eye out as G Fletcher's just hovering around that 7/10 mark behind Bryn, unable to get close enough to make the move anywhere really. It's a bit stuck. Rimpe just trying to get as close as he can to Chris in that Ferrari, set up a move down the straight into a Stowe.
They've both got quite a lot of ERS saved with Bryn and Jay Fletcher, with Jay Fletcher marginally got more. So Jay Fletcher just sitting behind at the moment, not really using too much of his ERS. And right now that's not looking too bad for him, and he probably knows that he can play the long game here and maybe try something different with a strategy, because of the fact that it's a two-stop race here, obviously at one hub. It's going to mean that strategy is going to be key, and Jay Fletcher might be looking towards a potential undercut at some point later on.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier about Rimpe gaining on Chris ahead of him, he's not really gaining. He appears to be dropping back into Chris's teammate Scorpion in the other Ferrari a bit now. So maybe Chris is trying to be strategic and hold up Rimpe enough for his teammate to get past, and then push on after the top two, but he's dropping back quite a bit just now, as we've got a bit of a scrap as Tom Robbo's into the pits already, it appears. I'm not sure what for.
Well, I'll see if it's going to replace his front wing. If not, that might be a tactical move to just get shot of the mediums.
Looks like it, as I'm not seeing anything through the task system of any damage, so it might just be a strategy call from Tom Robbo to get a bit of clear air on those soft tyres.
It's a good little tactic. The soft tyre, you should be able to make two soft tyre stints work pretty nicely from here on in. So obviously not particularly liking those mediums. He was struggling pace-wise in regards to the guys in front of him. Verheyen also pitting for medium tyre. Quite an early stop from him, so he may be thinking slightly differently to Tom Robbo, and he actually got shut of the softs quite early on. But of course Verheyen was kind of in a bit of a train of cars behind Chris, so maybe thinking it was best to just get out of that and run in a bit of clear air.
Yeah, I think Verheyen's trying to take the advantage, because the undercut is pretty powerful around Silverstone, so maybe going to try and force those guys in that battle behind Chris to respond, maybe. As looking back at that battle, Rimpe is still sitting in that 5/10 gap behind Chris, still unable to get behind. This is turning into one of those DRS trains, as we've got another couple of people in the pit. Nick is in, as well as
Kieran is in
McLaren.
And this is an interesting strategy for Kieran. So he's actually responding to Verheyen, because he was, I believe, just behind Verheyen when Verheyen made his stop. So looking to respond to that. He's also gone on to medium compound tyres. And then we've got the likes of Nick and Knowlesy also in the pits. So where is Kieran going to come out in relation to Verheyen? Has it worked out for him? That's going to be the question.
It has.
He's got in front. So yeah, I believe he's actually gained a position out of that. Although he's nearly lost the back end of the car, and that's going to present a perfect opportunity for Verheyen to get the position back straight away. There was a bit of contact there, it looked like, as he flicked through onto the hanger straight. Who's going to have the better run? It's actually the Red Bull of Verheyen that's got the DRS and the track position advantage. So he gets the position back there. So Kieran, Kajman!
VSC.
Kajman is out of the race, he has crashed. And looking at it, was there contact with Schnitzel? Because Schnitzel is just recovered from the scene of that accident with a lot of damage. So we'll suggest there's been some contact there between the Alfa Romeo and the Renault, and unfortunately that brings an end to Kajman's race. And in terms of a VSC, that's perfect timing for the top two, and anyone else who didn't pit earlier now has a perfect chance to do so now, and they will ultimately gain out of that. So those that jump the gun early on the pit stops will ultimately lose some time here.
Well, unfortunately, Scorpion's stuck out because his teammate Chris came in, so he's got the short straw of the two Ferraris here. As I might have to see if I can get a look back at that instant, if you caught it on the stream.
Unfortunately not, no. I'd only caught the aftermath, unfortunately. But Schnitzel definitely with heavy damage and had to pit. It looked like it was through cops, so that would have been quite a high speed impact. And it looks like it may have flung the Renault into the wall. Probably get a view of that after the race from one of their perspectives. But Scorpion, as you mentioned, really getting the short straw there and having to stay out. And we mentioned the two Ferraris being close. Well, ultimately, that's one of the downsides of having a teammate that's so closely matched, is that in situations like that, one of you, unfortunately, is going to lose out.
Yeah, definitely. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, having a teammate who's very similar to you on pace, because like the situations like this happen, but it's also very helpful when you're both able to work together and push on after the guys ahead.
Well, it just shows the effect that the VSC and being able to pit under it has had, with Chris and Rimpe are several seconds now in front of Verheyen and Kieran, so those two have really dropped back thanks to those early pit stops, and it has benefited the others.
In the pits, having to wait the extra lap. We'll have to wait and see where he comes out relative to his teammate, who's just came through still now, it looks like, so he's going to be quite a bit further back than he was before.
And looking at it, I reckon Scorpion's probably going to rejoin around where the racing points are. This is really going to emphasise just how much time he's lost. And I reckon it's going to be around where Kieran and Tom Robbo are, with Tom Robbo now right behind his teammate on faster tyres. Let's see, he's just in front of Verheyen, so Scorpion has somewhat salvaged that in the end, keeping ahead of a Red Bull who was previously ahead of, and unlike Kieran, not having a sideways moment out of the pits, which gives Verheyen a chance to capitalise.
Yeah, so hopefully we can put those 2 lap fresher tyres to good use now and push after F1 Farf ahead, who's came in for the soft tyres, so Farf should be quicker than the drivers around him, and possibly push after Rimpe, who's at, well, Rimpe and Chris are in a bit of a no man's land just now, as G Fletcher and Brenner just ran away right now. G Fletcher not really catching at the moment.
And we've seen some team orders at work, I think, there, as Kieran lifted off the throttle coming into Maggots and Beckett's and let Tom Robbo through. Would you say that's a wise decision for the Racing Point team?
At the moment, yes, considering Tom Robbo's on the fresh, soft tyres, I think it might be in their best interest to let the soft driver through just now until his tyres burn out and see what he can do. Then when his tyres start to die off, maybe then let the slightly faster medium runner back through.
It'll be interesting now to see as Tom Robbo can get onto the back of Verheyen and the Scorpion in front of him. One driver who's benefited out of the early pit stop phase is F1 Farf, who has now found himself ahead of Scorpion, Verheyen and the 2 Racing Points, so he's gained handsomely from that first pit stop phase. And F1 Farf looking pretty solid at the moment, up in 6th place, but he does have a penalty, so that is one thing to note. I suspect by the end of the race we'll probably see quite a few more drivers with penalties though, so if he can avoid penalties from here on in, he may come into play.
Yeah, penalties might play a big factor in tonight's race, as Jay Fletcher's slightly closer to Bryn this lap around. He's only 5 tenths back, but he's not using his overtake mode to gain on that Alpha Tauri. Maybe trying to push him into a mistake or something, but he's certainly playing the long game here, as Rio Mahoshi picking up a penalty in the other Haas.
Well, what's worth to note here between the two current provisional leaders, as you will see, with Casper still yet to stop. Jay Fletcher is a championship leader by 15 points over Tom Robbo at the moment, with Knowlesy in third. He probably looks at Bryn and sees someone who's not really in the championship picture. Will that be playing on his mind perhaps, and will that maybe be part of a reason why he hasn't really gone for an attack just yet on Bryn?
If you're leading the championship like Jay Fletcher, you want to be, and your rivals are behind you, you want to be putting as many cars between you and them as possible, and especially increase the amount of points between you, so you can win that championship as soon as you can.
This is going to be the interesting development now, is Bryn is now caught up to the back of Casper, who I suspect will probably be in very soon, because I don't really see much point in him staying out there on the mediums for too much longer. So we'll see if Bryn has a go here down the Wellington Straight into Stowe. I think he is, yeah, to the inside. Casper doesn't really need to fight this too hard, and he doesn't. And at least for the time being, that'll give Bryn a bit more breathing space. But will Casper pit? No, he does not.
So that's going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works for Jay Fletcher now. And if Casper's close enough to keep the DRS on Bryn, which I'm not sure if he will.
Yeah, it depends how his run is through his corners. But will Jay Fletcher have a look into passing Casper as quickly as possible? I wonder. He's going down the inside. He does go for it. Casper a bit more defensive on this occasion. Is he going to be able to fend off the Mercedes of Jay Fletcher? This is not a fight Jay Fletcher needs to be involved in, but he is, as they go side by side down the hanger straight, and Jay Fletcher's got superior speed to make the pass stick and hasn't lost too much time in the end through that, but he's navigated that Williams safely. I'm very surprised Casper's not pitted though, because with the fact he's still got 2 stops left to make, is it really worth still out there running those mediums?
He should be coming in this lap, I believe, because the game usually makes you go about 2 7-lap stints on softs and a 12-lap stint on mediums. So he should be in very soon, I suppose.
Yeah, I hope for his sake he hasn't forgotten about the mandatory 2-stop rule, because that would be a real shame if he has. Hopefully we'll see him in the pits very shortly. As Scorpion looks like he's starting to catch up to the back of Farf, who's losing just a little bit of pace. And what we didn't see, unfortunately I did catch on camera, is that Tom Robbo has moved past Verheyden, so ultimately that racing point swap has bore fruit, as Tom Robbo makes up a place and will now try and set off after the Ferrari.
Scorpion about 2 seconds ahead of Tom Robbo now. His teammate Kieran is slowly coming up to the back of Vahanen now. Nick not far off this battle either, as Jay Fletcher's managed to close up the gap a bit, but other than that we've got not too much, apart from Dan Murphy on the back of Hindle near the back, booked for P16. So these two could be about to go side by side very shortly, as Dan Murphy with the softs, not willing to go for the dive, but should have DRS, but he's also got Jonas behind him on the 4-lap old medium tyres, so Jonas is going to have to get through these guys as quick as possible now.
Of course, Dan Murphy is running a slightly different strategy due to the fact that he was in on lap 1 for the damage he had, so he's obviously taken those soft tyres quite a long way. Done a pretty decent stint on him, all things considered, and if he can, he's probably looking to hold on to him for another lap or two, and then he can go on to another set of soft tyres. But he's
started
now...
on softs, I believe.
And he might have to go on to mediums there. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But anyway, he's got one more stop to make, and he's doing pretty good at a recovery drive at the moment. His teammate Knowlesy also struggling though, up in only 15th, but of course a driver who still probably has his eyes on the title. That's really not where he wants to be, not in the points at the moment, even with the top 12 of course all scoring points.
Yeah, Jay Fletcher must be seeing his rivals' positions and licking his lips right now, considering how far down the field they are. Must be having a field day.
Of course, it makes it even more vital for him now that he just maintains his focus and doesn't need to do anything rash against Bryn at the moment. There's still that opportunity later on. Of course, the kind of opportunity for an undercut kind of went begging under the first sort of pit stop phase due to that virtual safety car, but maybe for the second pit stop he could potentially try and jump Bryn in the pits a lap early. Or I suspect it'll be a case of he basically will do whatever the other guy doesn't do.
Yep, actually had a yellow flag in sector 2 briefly. Looks like Okeke went a bit wide as I've seen a bit of dirt on his tyres there, so the Renault man really struggling right now. Well, yeah, both Renaults appear to be really struggling this race. Kajaman out and his teammate not doing much better.
Yeah, not a good day for the Renault team, and truth be told, it's been a disappointing season for them.
Tom Robbo and Vihanen have had a little battle there, so I think Tom Robbo's found his way past. Or, well, maybe not, Vihanen appears to have closed back in.
Yeah, Tom Robbo, I wonder if he's made a mistake, or if it's just those soft tyres maybe starting to give up the best of their grip. Because Verheiden's right behind him, and now Kieran, if anything, it's kind of roles reversed too early, and now he's been held up by his teammate.
Yep, I don't know what's going on the Racing Point pit wall, but I can tell you they won't be happy after Tom Robbo probably asking to be let through. Seeing that he's faster than his teammates. His teammates now faster than him. His teammates on the back of him and Vihanen. He's trying to sneak it up the inside of Vihanen, and now trying to go round the outside. I don't think he'll make it stick here. He's gonna have to wait till the straight in DRS, but crucially he's got back past his teammate. No, he's not. He's going to get him on the traction, and he's going to be up to 7th, coming through cops now. Some great driving from Kieran in the racing plant.
That was beautifully choreographed, I have to say, from Kieran there. I think Tom Robbo may have just left the space on the inside for his teammate as well, but to then steal past the Red Bull as well, they've kind of salvaged that between them. But Verheyen is going to come back at him here down the Wellington Straight. What can he do? Into Stowe, he's got the place back again, so Kieran's 7th place very short-lived, and well, whatever Racing Point are trying, it doesn't seem to be getting them anywhere fast.
Not really, but they aren't half putting on a show for us, as Kieran might be willing to send it, well, might be on the back of Vihanen shortly, depending on his run through these corners.
You've got Nick in the pits then for his second stop. Just running in the tail end of the points at the moment, while his teammate still continues to stalk just under a second behind the race leader Bryn, who is doing a really sterling job out there in front.
Picking up a penalty there.
That's going to be absolutely crucial for Verheyen. We've been so close to drivers around him. A penalty he could ill afford to get, and that will produce some joy on the Racing Point pit wall there. They'll be very happy to see that. And Jay Fletcher just looking that little bit closer to Bryn this time around as they go into the Wellington Straight. He's using his overtake, so he clearly fancied a bit of a run at Bryn, but I think he's just going to run out of space as they come into Stowe. Yeah, he's going to have to stay slotted in behind, but this will feel very much like deja vu here for Bryn, and they both pit together. I'm a little bit surprised about that. I thought if Bryn had pitted, Jay Fletcher may have tried to stay out another lap. That's slightly surprising.
That's strange. Kieran's going back at Vihanen now as he's going to go around the outside into Stowe. Racing Point looks to have got the move done around the outside. Great move from Kieran there.
And Tom Robbo has decided he has enough of seeing his teammate in Vihanen battle, and he's decided to pit.
Might be another... Well, might be Racing Point pit wall trying to pull an undercut on the Red Bull driver, so we'll wait and see how that pans out, as Bryn and Jay Fletcher will come out. It's like just behind Riley Buys and Ryo Mahoshi. Casper not quite close enough, so they're crucially going to stay ahead of the Williams.
I tell you what, this could be a crucial point in the race. Jay Fletcher may look and see those two cars ahead and think this could yet be his opportunity, because all the pit stops are out of the way now. If Jay Fletcher wants to win this race, he might have to do it on the track, and he might have to maybe get his elbows out a little bit more than we've seen from him so far.
He's wanting the win now. He's going to certainly have to put the foot down. As his rival for the win ahead of him, Bryn, is looking to get past the Haas of Ryo Mahoshi and the Williams of Riley, who are really holding him up through Cops. And then Maggots and Beckett's is not able to get past through there. He's going to be stuck behind now. And then he's going to have to get the move done down the Wellington Straight now if he's wanting to pull away from Jay Fletcher behind him. As he's going to go up the inside of Ryo Mahoshi into Stowe. Riley just a little bit too far ahead, although he's going to be right on the gearbox of that Williams coming out of Stowe. Riley not pitting, but he's going to cover the inside rather aggressively, Riley, and he's going to squeeze him out wide, but Bryn having more grip is going to force the Williams off there.
And he's forced his way past the pair of them, and Jay Fletcher's still stuck behind both of them.
Riley wasn't giving up. I almost had him through turn one, but had to back out there right in the last second.
And Ryo Mahoshi now looking potentially like he wants to make a move on Riley. And Jay Fletcher now sneaks up the inside of a pair of them. He's only got one of them though, as Riley has a sideways moment. This could be absolutely treacherous for Jay Fletcher, but he's managed to get through it. But he's losing so much time here behind these two cars.
Now Ryo Mahoshi must have snuck his way back up.
Ryo Mahoshi's gone. He's spun round. He's going to be able to thankfully get that car back under control, but he's lost a lot of time behind Riley, who was fighting
with him there. Very much came close to taking Riley with him when he spun there.
That was really close battling, and you got the feeling at some point it was going to go wrong for one of them. Thankfully, though, it's not too much damage done for Ryo Mahoshi. He's lost some time, but thankfully has got away without damage. But that has given Bryn, has put Jay Fletcher outside of Bryn's DRS, and could that be the break that Bryn was looking for to get away from Jay Fletcher and right the wrongs of the last two races and get that win under his belt?
Well, it's looking like it now for Bryn as he's pulled that gap up just about 1.5 seconds. He's slightly extending the gap now, but Jay Fletcher's really got to get the foot down now. He wants to get past that Alpha Tauri now.
Got Rimpe and Scorpion, who have just made their second and final stops. Chris has jumped ahead of them. They're going to rejoin by the looks of it. Oh, I tell you what, Farf has just jumped ahead of Scorpion. Actually, I think he was already ahead of him, but Rimpe has rejoined in 8th, F1 Farf in 9th, Scorpion 10th. This is effectively the battle for 3rd, though, and at the moment Chris just looks to have the edge on Rimpe as Chris goes past Jonas down the inside into Woodcote. That was a brave move, and he gets the move done, and that's an important move because Jonas was on very old mediums and would have held him up otherwise.
The Williams swapping positions now. I think Riley might have let his teammate by there, since he is on fresh soft tyres now.
I tell you what, I'm just looking at Casper. So Casper pitted on lap 16 from some softs to super softs. That to me suggests to me that he's almost trying a one-stop as Riley comes back at his teammate. I thought there was a bit of team orders going on there, but it doesn't look like it as Riley then goes into the pits. But I'm looking at the strategy that Casper's running. I almost worry that he may have forgotten to do a two-stop race here.
Scorpion's picked up a penalty there, so...
And he's going side by side with Farf. And Farf just holds on to it, so Scorpion not even thinking about his penalty there. He was absolutely trying to go for it, get past that Haas. But he has to remain behind for now as we see many drivers making their final stops of the race, and it's all shaking out here. The only two drivers at the front who need to make another stop are Casper and Ryo Mahoshi, so if you take those two drivers out of the equation, that's pretty much your order now, and any positions gained are either going to have to be through penalties or on the track. As Scorpion again has a great run on the Haas of Farf, and he's going to have the inside line. Oh, and there's a contact between them as Farf looked to get the move back done, and Scorpion slightly moved off the track there. Farf very aggressive as he fights back against the Ferrari and gets that position back. He was having absolutely none of that.
Got battle for the ages now over basically 5th place, 6th place now, between the Haas and the Ferrari.
And Verheyen and the 2 Racing Points could join in.
Here comes Kieran anyway, on the back of the Hannon.
I think these two will be very, very well acquainted with each other already. We've seen some great battles between these two, and they just always seem to be in that same bit of the track.
Casper and Leo Mahosh. Well, Casper is in at the moment, so he hasn't forgotten to stop Leo, thankfully. Just waiting on the Haas of Leo Mahoshi to pit now.
Yeah, he's done a super long stint. And I'm guessing then that Dan must have started on mediums, because Dan Murphy did go for another set of softs. So he's looking to get those to the end, and he could yet salvage some points, which would be a good save for him, all things considered. In fact, he's just jumped Casper, who's coming out of the pits now in 14th place. So Casper and Riley in 2 Williams cars may just miss out on the points here. They're currently only 14th and 15th, and unfortunately, one of the negatives of the brilliant attendance of a precision tier is it means, unfortunately, a lot of drivers are going to miss out on points.
Yep, just taking this back to the battle at the front, Bryn is now 2 seconds clear of Jay Fletcher now, so the AlphaTauri man showing he definitely has the consistency and the pace to win to lead a race, well, and possibly win a race.
Can confirm it is just Ryo Mahoshi that has a stop left to make, so he is the last one to pit. But Bryn looks like that battle with Ryo Mahoshi and I believe it was Riley Byes may have ultimately proven to be the turning point for Bryn, and now he's looking in a really strong position here to see this one out. He just has to avoid picking up any penalties and not let Jay Fletcher back in his DRS.
Yeah, Bryn's main focus now should be keeping it consistent and not making any mistakes for the rest of the race. As Verheyen and Scorpion and Kieran, downwards basically, are all stuck in a battle now. As they're all stuck behind F1 Farf in that Haas car. Scorpion unable to get past the Haas still, and is holding absolutely everyone up behind him.
I want to say as well, that it's a really great job those pair at the front have done, as these 6 cars battle. It's so close together, it really could go anyway. And I have to say, one driver who's ended up in this battle, who I've got to say at one point didn't really like he was going to be in it, is Nick. So fair play to Nick, he's now splitting the 2 racing points, and he's firmly in this scrap, and I highly doubt that the order they're in now is the order in which they'll finish.
Here comes Scorpion around the outside of F1 Farf into Stowe. He's going to get the move done, I think. Unless Farf is going to send it up the inside into the chicane. Well, no, he's going to back it. He's not going to bother. So Scorpion finally gets clear of the Haas that's been bothering him for laps now. That's a mistake through the final corner from Farf. It's going to leave him in the clutches of Verheyen possibly. Into the braking zone. He's a little bit wobbly there. Verheyen not going to have a look up the inside though. He's going to be patient and wait for the DRS on the hanger straight. Keep an eye out, but I think F1 Farf will keep the DRS. So he's going to be quite difficult to overtake still.
Yep, and he maintains a position. Does Farf behind Scorpion, and potentially might even have a look back at Scorpion. One thing I can guess that Ryo Mahoshi's doing, he's probably recognising now that it's going to be difficult for him to score points. So he may be leaving his last pit stop till late, because of course if you can get the fastest lap outside the points positions, you do pick up a point for that. So that might be Ryo Mahoshi's tactic there.
Yeah, it's quite a good tactic if you think you're not going to get points. So I think he may come in this lap, considering he's just dropped off the back of Rimpey now. Who's doing quite well up and forth in the AlphaTauri. As a team, they're on for quite a good point haul.
Hayden going for it around the outside of Stowe. There's a bit of contact between the two cars and Farf holds on to it. And Ryoma Hoshi staying out another lap. So, and I tell you what that's going to mean. He's going to suddenly become the leading car in this almighty train of cars. And this could turn this battle really crazy now.
I think he might be a bit too far away. As Scorpion's pulled it just about a second clear of F1 Farf now. So he's slowly pulling away from this battle. And onto the back of Ryoma Hoshi. He's not going to have DRF. As Tom Robles past Nick now. He looks to have got the job done as Nick's picked up a penalty now. Kieran still on the back of Vahanen. Less than a tenth behind now. He's trying his best to find a way past that Red Bull. He's still stuck behind the Haas. But may have to wait to the Wellington straight now as he's dropped off a bit. As he doesn't get the best exit, but the slipstream will keep him in this fight. But Vahanen all over the back of that car as Scorpion now on the back of Ryoma Hoshi. He's going to hold him up quite a lot now through Maggots and Beckett. Not going to get the best run. That's going to let F1 Farf get a good run now. And suddenly be right back behind Scorpion now.
I wonder if that was some Haas tactics going on there. As Ryoma Hoshi, oh, he doesn't. Is he going to go into the pits? Yes, he does. That'll be a massive relief to Scorpion and everyone else around him, I suspect, as they all go through. But I was just having a look at penalties. Of course, the only one in this group of cars that doesn't have a penalty is Kieran, so he's in a pretty strong spot right now as he looks threateningly behind the back of Vahanen. And Farf has an extra penalty. He has 2 penalties. So Farf not only appears to be one of the slowest in this group of cars right now, he's also got the disadvantage of having an extra penalty, so that could cost him dear just with how close this group of cars is.
Yeah, definitely. As Nick is now back past Tom Robbo, who's in the wall now.
Oh, and
Racing
that's
Points in the wall, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But the Mercedes of Nick is up into 9th after maybe a slight bit of contact, but Dan Murphy appears to be back in the points now.
That's an excellent recovery drive after the lap 1 contact he had, but that's a big blow for Tom Robbo. Just look, oh, and he's off the road. He must have significant damage. Oh no, it doesn't look like he's got too much damage on that Racing Point. Maybe just trying to get the tyres back going, I suppose, but that's a big blow. Jay Fletcher right now will be grinning as he's very close to getting in DRS of Bryn. He's definitely closed in a little bit. But yeah, this is a big moment for the title race here. Jay Fletcher, championship leader in 2nd, while his 2 biggest rivals are really struggling in the tail end of the points in Nosey and Tom Robbo.
Tom Robbo could be about to get overtaken by Dan Murphy, but Dan Murphy isn't getting the best of runs through Maggots and Beckett. I don't think he is going to be close enough. He doesn't have enough ERS to get close enough to that Racing Point to have a go. So Tom Robbo's going to hold on for now. Vahanen all over the back of Farf. Oh, look, Vahanen's lost the back end going through turn 1.
Oh, there's a big crash!
He's made contact with Kieran, with somebody, I'm not sure who it was, but he made contact.
It might have been Nick potentially, but if he is, he's got away with it. Vahanen, though, certainly hasn't. And that's a disaster for him on the final lap of the race, just losing the back end of the car. And that drops him down to 10th and actually reunites him with Tom Robbo. So even they still can't be separated, those two, as I'm now going to jump to the front because we are going through now the last few corners now. They're just onto the Wellington straight at the end of the lap. And what can Bryn do here? He's pretty much got this in the bag now, I suspect. Jay Fletcher looks like he's given up the ghost on this one, and fair play to Bryn. He's been knocking on the door of a race win for the last few races, and he's finally going to get it here at his home Grand Prix. Around the final corner, Bryn is going to win the 1 Hub Precision Tier British Grand Prix, and I have to say a well-deserved effort indeed. Jay Fletcher will take 2nd, and Chris in the end got away from that group of cars who he was previously fighting with and gets his reward as he takes the final spot on the podium in 3rd. We've got Rimpey.
Could be about to go round the outside of Vahanen now into Stowe. Dan Murphy behind him. He's going round the outside of the Red Bull. He's been forced off the track now. But he is going to send it.
Oh, and there's
Big
contact between them. And what could Dan Murphy...
Verhaaren's lost it. Dan Murphy's up into P11 now.
And wow, what incredible action there across the line. Verhaeren does get a point in the end. I wonder if we'll see that potentially that could end up in the stewards. There was a bit of contact between the pair of them for a few corners there. But Tom Robbo gets 10th. And in the end, it was a fantastic ending to the race. So many battles going on. But fair play to Bryn. That battle just after the pit stop with Ryo Mahoshi and Riley proved to be crucial. And in the end, Bryn did enough to win. And yeah, massive well done to him.
Yep. And great drive from Bryn from start to finish to be able to hold off Jay Fletcher the whole race, no mistakes or anything.
Yeah, he was under significant pressure throughout the majority of that race and really held it together. We said that a win was going to come for him and he's proven it today. Really excellent job done. Jay Fletcher will extend his championship lead. He'll be delighted with that. I don't think he'll be too disappointed to lose out today. Chris as well doing a good job getting the final podium spot in the Ferrari. Let's quickly run through the official results here. Of course, up into stewards, potentially decisions there. But yeah, Bryn wins, Jay Fletcher second, Chris takes third, Rimpe in fourth, Kieran in fifth, Scorpion sixth, Nick in seventh, Farf in eighth, Knowlesy in ninth, Tom Robbo in 10th, Dan Murphy recovers to 11th. That's a pretty good effort in the end for him, with Verhaeren taking the final points. And then those outside the points, Riley, Jonas, Casper, Hindle, Ryo Mahoshi, who as suspected did get the fastest lap in the end, so we'll get a point for that. In 17th for Keke, Schnitzel, and just a 1 DNF in Kajman, with the fastest lap inside the points, I believe, going to Dan Murphy in 11th, so not a bad effort there from him. Quickly then, in terms of driver of the day then, I'll let you go first with your nomination for this and what question you would ask them.
I'm going to pick Dan Murphy for my drive of the day. My question for him will be, how crucial was it for you not to give up after your lap 1 collision?
Very good. That's a very good nomination. He did a superb recovery drive in the end. I'm going to go for what's probably the quite obvious choice, really. I'm going to go for Bryn, who took the win. And my question to him would be, how did you mentally recover from seeing a potential couple of race wins escape from you recently to put it all together for tonight's win? So that would be my question to him. I just want to say as well, a big thank you to all our sponsors. Here at One Hub, we've got Next Level Racing, who will be providing rigs to the Going Gets Tough Award winner. You can follow them on Twitter at Next Level Racing. Liam13, one of our drivers who's also sponsoring the trophies this year. You can check him out on Twitch at twitch.tv/LiamRBS. We've also got Vespertine, who are supporting all our prizes this season. And today we have a new sponsor in Time to Print HD, who are producing keyrings for every track we are racing at. So a warm welcome to them too. I just want to say, Liam, massive thank you for joining me in the commentary box, and I look forward to next week at Vietnam, I believe.
Yeah, you'd be correct. We are at Vietnam next week, a relatively unknown track to many people, especially to us. Don't know, well, we haven't seen what it's like in real life, so it'll be interesting to see how it handles in the game.
Absolutely, and tonight is the night where Jay Fletcher took a big step towards winning the title. We'll see how he can get on at Vietnam as he looks to further cement his place at the top of the championship. But from Liam and myself, a massive thank you to everyone who watched, tuned in, and we will see you next week at 7:45 for Vietnam. But until then, we'll catch you on the flip side.